morning and welcome back to K24 This Morning. It's a Tuesday rather, and we discuss money and finances. And today we are focusing on home ownership, affordable home ownership, which from the discussion we're having here seems like it's a dream that may not actually come true. Apparently owning a home in Kenya is not affordable at all because of all the red tapes that you have to go through in terms of ownership, in terms of what the government is doing, in terms of even the building materials. Quite an expensive venture, and that is why I'm joined by Martin Njoroge, the CEO of Nyumbani Concepts. He's with me to discuss that particular situation. I also have Salline Onoka, who is the... Do I call you the CEO? Or,
yes, go ahead.
One of the co-creators. We also have Mr. Muthogo here, Abraham, who is an economist, quite knowledgeable in these matters of money and finance. Before we went on that break, we asked guys, how easy is it to own a home in Kenya? How easy, or even how hard is it to own a home in Kenya? And just like we used to answer this question during our school days, all I need you to do is find us on social media pages at K24TV across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and let us know how you feel about that particular situation. You can also call us on the number on your screen right now, and we'll be glad to answer all your questions. Speaking of which, we do have a question coming through from Twitter. This one is from, let me find it. All right. So we have Kevin Charles who's asking, hi, please ask the expats what's the advice on off-plan property ownership? And I think I'll throw that to you. What is your advice on off-plan property ownership? And what is off-plan even?
The way I understand off-plan is like buying based on a plan. So you know where the house is going to be. You have an impression of what it's going to look like, and there's a value attached to it. Okay. A lot of times value is attached based on the location itself, based on demand, the regular supply and demand things.
Right.
But generally buying off-plan affords a lot of people, first of all, time to save money for the deposit, because buying... Okay, so to answer that directly, I think off-plan works.
Right.
Works because it gives you the luxury of time to save for the deposit. It helps you put in at least a commitment of $500,000, say for a house worth 10 million. So you'll put in $500,000, which hopefully you have saved or borrowed from your SACCO to make a commitment. And remember, the developer needs it, so they will encourage you to do it. But usually the minute the ground is broken and the first floor is done and the second floor, assuming that they're flat.
Yeah.
With every floor, with every month, the value of that house, the cost, I wouldn't say the value, but the cost of that house goes higher.
Okay.
But remember, you've committed to a certain cost, and there's a contract to it. So while this happens, what is happening is that the deposit that you put there is gaining in value because it is sort of affording you a more expensive house.
Wow.
And in between, because a lot of developments take a year or two, you can then be talking to a bank or pumping some money into some saving if you have it towards the deposit. Because when a bank will not give you a mortgage, for instance, before the house is ready. Okay. So in between, you can be putting in the deposit towards a 10% because you already know you bargained a value of 10 million and you put in $500,000 and now you require another, say, million. So the 2 years, perhaps, if you have some income, you can put in money to afford you some sort of mortgage. It helps with the pre-qualification, and by the time the house is done, the value would have gone much higher than the 10 million that you committed to.
All right.
So yes, I would say that off-plan works. If you have time and you can find something where there is, an off-plan development, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Charles, I hope you've gotten that particular concept. Now, when we were off air, Martin, there's something we mentioned, and you mentioned that even selling land nowadays, if you're a landowner, selling land that is even worth 5 million is becoming increasingly difficult. But if you get that person who's coming with illicit money from Mogadishu and he tells you, abana chukua 10 million, mimi nipate ishamba, that obviously now raises the value of that land and all the other lands surrounding it. What can we do about that?
As I said, the government has a lot to do because they can easily track all this money that is coming in. All right? In Kenya, we don't actually have a lot of professionals in the industry. It's not regulated. Like, let's say in the US, even for you to become an agent, you need a license. Here, you can just buy...
interest.
You can buy, if I have some 2 million, I can go to Kajiado, buy a piece of property, subdivide it,
Yes.
and I start selling. You know, and I put a price on it. Nobody is regulating me. So it becomes a big challenge. So I say the government really has to do a lot in terms of managing the money that is coming in, regulating the industry, so that it can be beneficial, because the government is supposed to protect the mwananchi, right? So that the mwananchi can benefit at the end of the day. Yeah. Because if we have people who are prosperous, that means that even the government will have an easy job.
Yes.
They can be able to collect a lot of money from all these taxes that are coming from the, what do you call this, yearly, the rates, the land rates, all this. Okay. But they need to set the ball rolling.
Now, Abra, I see you.
Yes. I just want to add on to what they're saying. Two things. He's talked about government reining in on this particular instance.
Yes.
The Offplan, she has put it very well on the Offplan. I just want to flip that, and you've seen that because of the fact that Offplan, all you sell is a plan.
Right.
There are people now. We have people who are rogue.
Rogue.
And it looks like they are more rogue than they are not.
Okay.
Because we've seen instances where, with the advent of graphics, somebody paints a very rosy picture. This is how they look, and they do walk-ins, and they build a model house.
Okay.
So and then they take you in buses, you go and watch, and they buy you lunch there. So then you put money. It starts well, but now the problem was, once you have a lot of money, instead of finishing these houses, you go to another project. So you'll find, like for example, some countries in the world, and I think we need to have that system here, where the government has an escrow organ, whereby all this off-plan money is paid to that organ.
Okay.
So the government holds it in trust, that this money will only be released to the seller if he finishes. If he doesn't finish, it goes back. But now, the owner, the guy who's building, is the one who has your money.
Yes.
So if he doesn't finish,
you're stuck.
You're the one pleading. I'm sure you have cases where
Can we trust the government with all that money?
Yes. I mean, that you can.
Who else can you trust?
This is it.
And remember, government is you and I. So, but now, the arrangement we have is where we give somebody we've just had on TV saying, I am X homes. I have these houses, and they'll be finished. They'll be finished yesterday, and pay me a deposit of only 1 million.
Yes.
And the house is only 5 million.
Yes.
But once they lock in the 1 million, you can't get it back, whether they finish or not. And they could finish not, and that house and the picture don't look alike. So all those are possibilities. So I tend to think it's an area that we need to rein in, because even now there are very, very horrible cases where somebody, some people even went and got bank debt.
Yes.
To put in, some of those houses are high end.
Yeah.
Now they're stuck in the middle. An incomplete house has no value to you, to the end user, to anybody.
True.
It's just sunk, even to the banker.
Yeah.
So it is lost value for all of us. So the person who can sort this out is the creation of that escrow system, whereby money is put in for safety. So that as I put my money in, I know it's either I get my money back or I get a home. The buyer knows if I don't finish, I'm high and dry.
This is it.
Yes.
Yeah. When
I
I'm
totally
president,
agree.
you're definitely becoming my minister for finance and housing. Ndashikanisha zote zikuwe moja. Martin, you're saying something here.
Off-plan right now is the only opportunity for most Kenyans to
It is a fantastic option.
The challenge, I said,
Yeah.
the government has not put systems in place to regulate the market or the industry. So you'd find now, I bought a piece of property, I decide to build some houses. Then no system, no nothing. Before you know it, there's $500 million in my account.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do I do as a kawaida Kenyan?
Leave the country.
I'll buy all the expensive vehicles, I'll leave the line.
And they do.
Forgetting that this is people's money.
Yes.
I'm supposed to do some construction for them. So if the industry, as he says, is the escrow aspect of it can be rather challenging. But I think we can have some steps towards that.
Yes. Because
right now, as this stands, off-plan, for many people,
is the option.
It's the only option for home ownership.
Yeah, and a lot of times the developer needs the money to develop. This is the problem. I think they should break ground when they have their own money, so that the money that I give to you, starts is actually secured somewhere,
Yeah.
so that there's loss for nobody. You know,
So
I
they
know
actually
if
wait
I
for
don't
my
get the
money to
house-
start. Do they wait for our money to start?
That's the money that they use. Then the balance or the surplus that they require, then they'll go to the bank, because you see the
Okay.
cost of money is high. If you borrow 10 billion or 10 million, it's more expensive than borrowing 5 million. You know, so they need money to pump in there.
Right.
But the problem is it leaves the the homeowner like exposed.
Yeah.
Let me
You know, you end up pleading with the developer, and yet they have used their money.
Okay.
Let me say, a lot of people who are doing affordable housing right now, you know, if you borrow from the bank, the interest is going to kill you as a
No, it
developer.
will. It definitely will.
So you want to partner with the people, with the person buying the home, okay? So
Yes.
okay, there are systems that you put in place for you to be able to do the construction.
True.
But now you're partnering with the buyer, and you're hoping that the money they are going to pay you you're going to do the construction using
Yes.
that money.
Okay.
So it's rather like a partnership.
It is.
Should be.
I want us to talk about solutions in a minute, but before we do that, you know, we had someone who said cartels are now driving the prices obviously up because no one wants them down. Then the buying power of Kawaida Kenyans is a problem. Gladys called in and said our salary is low, something we already mentioned. Job insecurity, so there's no way I can get a mortgage right now that is going to last me 20 years, and yet my current position is not assured even probably beyond next year. So how do I get that mortgage? Isa ni kujipanga, you know. The deposits to get all these houses, you said something like take that 2 years to raise the deposit, but then again, iko shida because chances are I do not even have that money to raise the deposit. I have kids to take care of, I have, you know, a wife to take care of, and so on and so forth. And then now the maintenance, hata ukishanunua hiyo nyumba, ukishanunua hiyo compound, kuna kukata nyasi, you know, and all those things she mentioned. Let me throw that question back to you. From an economist point of view, what are the options now available to Kenyans in terms of, first of all, just managing their finances to make sure that they can pay that deposit, in terms of managing their finances to make sure they can, you know, probably even build their own home, because hakuna ujenge, umenunua shamba, then you take another 5 years before hata umwage mchanga, then another 5 years after umemwaga mchanga, ulete mawe, then another, by the time you umejengea nyumba, huna hata meno. You know, what options are there?
I think, okay, there are several options. Number one, I don't know, the best one is to start early for the young ones.
Start early.
Sure.
Start early. And if you really said something that was has resonated with me, if I knew then what I know now, there are things I would do differently. And for them, one of those things that, because when you're younger, your commitments are less. And most people start that decision when children come along. And that is the most expensive span of your life, because you have kids who are in school. And so yes, if you start early. Number two, the buying of off-plan or rent-to-own options. They're much softer, because the rent-to-own means for the pain of what you go through anyway, you're owning a home.
This is true.
Yes, so that is actually that, because for you, like whatever rent you pay, okay, I don't know if you own your home, but if you're renting it, it means that you suffer the same pain, but after a certain period, that home becomes yours.
Yes.
So it becomes a necessity for you to pay on time and all that. For me, mortgage sits on the last end, because mortgage is expensive.
Right.
Mortgage is very, very expensive. And I don't think it's until we bring down, there's the initiative of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, but until there's enough money put into that system to bring those rates sub 10, and probably even lower than 9, 8, 7 down there, a mortgage will still be very expensive.
Yeah.
Roughly, how much is a mortgage? If assume at what percentage? Because we see banks saying, "Oh, we
Because
do
the banks-
105% financing."
Yeah, there was one bank that was doing 100%, but you see, it's about the rate. Most interest rates, if you compute, that's what I was telling you, for every million, you're talking about a monthly repayment of 15 to 20,000.
Okay.
20 to 30 years.
Okay.
But by the end of that period, I will shock you, you have paid your loan 5 times.
This is
Hold that thought, because we have a Billy from Utawala. Billy, good morning.
Good morning, Bovi.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm very fine.
What is your question or comment?
First of all, greetings to your guests.
Wamesalimika.
They are doing a lovely job.
Thank you very much.
My question is, not my question, my comment is, anyway, owning a house or ground is very different, you know.
Yes.
And it's proven to be hard because of this rising economy. First of all, you see all the betting sites are like dealt with. There's no employment.
Yeah.
plus corruption is every day engaged. You can see cases of land grabbing. As for me, I was land grabbed.
What?
Yeah, because my title deed was not legit.
Okay.
It was from another person who owned it, but as a result of corruption, maybe they ended up changing my name, then putting it on another person.
Pole sana.
So it's one of the biggest blunders which I've ever done.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Billy, and pole sana for that ordeal.
it's okay.
What? Land grabbing. Okay, we shall tackle that in a second. But, you know, you were saying a very important
Yes, I was
concept
telling
there.
you-
You'll pay 5 times the mortgage
By the time you're
amount.
done a mortgage of the moment a mortgage exceeds 20 years upwards, you're in the 5 times category. So you see, it's not even clever to start with. So I think you'd rather do it the other way, reverse engineer, start early, or rent to own. Because rent to own, the asset is yours, and you're moving towards the end.
Yes.
But mortgage, they're lumping 5 times of whatever you borrowed, and then you pay it over 30 years. Factoring in that so many things can happen within a 30-year regime. So, all in all, but again, I believe that if our incomes grow as a nation, and the strategies that we're putting as a nation to grow our income, this debate becomes easier. And the need for government intervention will be less.
Okay.
Because when you have wealthy citizens, they take their own options. And you'll find more people building their own homes. But people fumble along.
Yeah.
First of all, they're not experts. But because of the morbid desire to own, they go to great lengths and live in unlivable places. You go to places and you find somebody is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You even don't know how they get there. But to them, they've achieved that I own. Yes, you own. But at what cost? Socially. Yeah, where are you?
You're in the wilderness.
Yes. So we have to manage, even socially, we have to manage this pressure of owning and bring it down to the fact that a house is not a commodity.
Yeah.
It's a functional asset.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's answer Billy, or rather tackle what Billy said. Billy said, you know, the debt rates right now for, I think, and it's for every single Kenyan. Like, by the time we can get campo, chances are unatoka huko hivyo na help loan.
Of course.
And help loan is not cheap anymore because, you know, and you have to pay, whether you are in employment or not.
Yes.
So already this person is thinking about paying his debts before he even thinks about renting. Ndio maana wengi wao wanaishi na wazazi bado. Then no employment. So that means if I am not employed, if I do not have my own business, brother, clearly, after you're renting ni norma. A lot of people actually are, you know, owning they're still living with their parents as they're employed, living in their parents as they do business because anasema, let me cut off the expense of rent first of all and sort my life out. Then corruption, which has been mentioned over and over and over. And I think we cannot overemphasize this. Corruption is actually is hurting the economy. All these guys who are coming with big banks, because we see property, like what you said, West T is 400 million, Upper Hill is 800 million. Like, that is even scary. Kuna msesa anafikiria 800 million.
They don't even know how to write.
Kuna haja kweli.
$8 million.
You know? Yeah. So, and then land grabbing, unfortunately for Billy. But just looking at this, there's obviously someone at home there who has probably despaired right now. Na anasema buda, mi wacha tu nibaki hapa hii keja yangu ya 7,000 ka bed sitter, niko tu sawa. How do we encourage these people then? Apart from the fact that we've said, let's start saving.
I think they should start now. And there is some interesting statistic that a number of urban Kenyans, I think more than 50% of urban Kenyans have a side hustle. So if you can, for a lot of people, the side hustle is the money to go buying rieng in the weekend. I think that money can be redirected.
Okay.
I think we can delay some conveniences like a certain kind of car at a certain age. If indeed we are briefed early that home ownership starts today, there are a lot of university students who are doing the side hustle, selling bundles or, you know, in the weekend working as a waiter or waitress in a bar. Where is that money going? Is it going into buying clothes and fashion and doing hair and makeup? Or is it money that you can actually put aside?
It's treating all these slay queens in Nairobi.
Yes, well, you said that. I don't know. Slay queens must be treated.
Yeah?
There's value to it. You know, but what I'm saying is, And Abraham did mention, if I knew then what I know now, all the money that I made somehow when I was in college would have gone towards some deposit, because the more you can deposit, the less you borrow. The less you borrow, the lower the cost, you know? So if we can start early, and also not, you know, at a certain stage, not necessarily look to own an apartment in Lavington and Kileleshwa.
Right.
Ask yourself, where can I own now? Because like he says, you may own a house outside, you know, towards Isinya.
Yeah.
Isinya is very far now. But if the government does what it says it will do, Isinya is not going to be too far in, you know. So it's important to have an eye to know which property is going to be more value, to double in value soon, and can I go there, you know, find out where are people going, where must people go, because building a home in Westlands is full.
Yeah.
In Kileleshwa is full. Where is space?
Twende
Is there
Isinya
government?
sisi wote.
No, well, go enda Isinya. If the government, for instance, says that there's going to be some dual carriageway or some rail, you know, go there and start doing things, you know. However, and he mentioned it over and over, there's a group, there's some rogue movement in this country.
Right.
So it's important that even as you save your shilling or your million or your 100,000, who are you saving it with?
Yeah.
Along your journey, are you engaging professionals? Are you engaging people you can go back to and say, oh, 3 years ago I gave you 20,000 shillings. Can I now have it back?
Right.
And you find them. They haven't closed shop or gone abroad or somehow, you know. Yeah, so those things, I think, are things, is what we can do. On the other end, I'm going to extend what he mentioned earlier. I think there's a lot of room for the government to do things, starting with what he said, you know, if you put money into an off-plan, are you sure that you'll get it back, or you'll get the, you know, you'll get the property that you bought?
Right.
Can cost of land be regulated by the government? You know, it's not as if, you know, somebody comes with money in a briefcase and they want to pay 800 million and they get it. There is room for regulation of cost of land. Otherwise, the runaway cost of land is going to discourage everybody.
Lakini utaletwa 800 million in a bag unukatai.
But if I'm regulated,
Yes,
I
you
will
will.
have to.
You'll have to say no.
You know,
Yeah.
if we can, if the government can just see that there is need to regulate. Otherwise, a lot of people are not going to. No, not many people are going to own anything.
Okay.
And finally, and a friend of mine said it yesterday as we were discussing the sanctity of the title deed.
Right.
Somebody called and said that they've been a factor in land grabbing. I don't know whether they are the victim or they are the perpetrators. You know, they are victim. So, is it possible that if I buy land and I get the title deed, that I'm the only person who's bought that land, and if it gains in value, I'm going to be the beneficiary, and if it loses value, I'm going to be the victim? You know, the sanctity of the title deed is a big deal here.
Yeah.
There are counties, obviously, where it is more, you know, like worse than other areas. But I think if the government can do those things, it's going to propagate some hope in young people.
Yeah.
So there's something we can do, but there's something else that the government can do, which they don't seem to be doing right.
Martin, closing remarks, 30 seconds.
As they have said, I think that's the best way to do it. If you're a young person and you want to own a home, start early. It's difficult, yes, but it can be done.
Okay.
All right. If you want to buy a property, do your due diligence. All right. Do some background check.
All right.
If the deal is too good, just walk
Like
away.
in the case of Billy.
Yeah, just walk away.
Billy's very sad,
Somebody asking you for 50,000 for a piece of property and this very good oiled payment plan. I think
Think
you walk
twice.
away. The government needs to remove these processes.
Okay.
Like in Rwanda, if I buy a property right now, by the end of the day or the following day, I have the title in my name. If you remove all this bureaucracy,
Just upon neighboring Rwanda.
yes,
Okay.
if you remove all this bureaucracy, that's where the loopholes are, and people are getting duped in the process.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Closing remarks, Mr. Abraham.
I think for me, I'll still champion that escrow, the escrow system.
Yeah.
I
I'm with you.
think it's going to be it's important.
Yes.
And actually, I'll pass. I'm looking for ways to get to 1 or 2, 3 MPs.
Okay.
So that
They're always here in the morning.
Yeah,
Kuja kesho asubuhi ama
yeah,
kesho.
so I'll come and wait for them here, so that at least we can see if somebody a bill can be drafted.
Yes.
For this organ to be there, because people have lost money. People have lost, and when it comes to homes, apart from the emotion, you talk about life savings.
Yes.
So people have died desperate. So we need to stop this, and maybe that escrow is what we will now give hope to people, that I can put my money there, knowing that it either give me a home,
Yes.
or I'll get my money back.
All right. There you have it. If you're looking to own a home, if you're already owning a home, if you had despaired pole tena sana, but there you have it in terms of what you need to do. You can always reach out to us at K24. You can always call the numbers on your screen, and we shall definitely put you in touch with all these panelists so that it makes your work easier as far as your dream is concerned. Right now, though, we take a, actually, don't take a short break. It's time to say kwaheri. Jeff Mote and Shiko Kaitani. I know a couple of you, rather the both of you, are on your way to owning homes.
Yes.
What they said, man,
Yeah.
for a Kenyan out there who's absolutely clueless, might just look like another bump on the road.
It's true.
And I also like one of the callers who called in and spoke about the fact that, because you know very many people, when you think about owning a home, you think that's the end. Once you've done that, everything else is settled. But you realize there's insurance for the home, there's maintenance of the home.
Land rates.
And
Land
land
rates,
rates.
land rent,
So the journey continues. So you plan yourself also for that phase.
Yeah.
You don't buy the home and that's it, that's the end of it all. There's a different phase in terms of taking care of that.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to the end of Money and Finance. We shall be back again tomorrow, Wednesday. More discussions on the way as well from 6 a.m. all the way till 9. Lakini kwa sasa ni wakati wa kusema kwaheri.
Yep.
Okay. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.